Hey everybody, I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the 2022 French Grand Prix qualifying session. Um, Starting from the bottom with Nicholas Latifi, who qualified 20th. I think he had a pretty good session, really, all things considered. Only 3 tenths off Alex Albon in his first run in the new car. I think that was a good session for him and good progress for Nicholas. It's never good to start last, but I think still a good performance for him. Mick Schumacher starting 19th. I think that's a big disappointment. I thought Haas would be pretty competitive uh, this weekend, and then with Magnussen taking the pilling, starting 19th, I do think it's a disappointment for Mick. He had the pace in the end, but having his lap time deleted, which I tend to think it was a little harsh by the stewards. I mean, I don't even think the Bollard got knocked over or anything like that, but I would much rather have a hard, fast rule than things constantly changing. So disappointing for him. Joe, Stroll, and Gasly all round out the first five that were eliminated. Kind of the same story for all three of them. All finished, I would say, a little bit behind their teammates who all made it through. Gasly for sure. Typically, you know, handles Sonoda, finds himself at his home Grand Prix starting 16th. We'll move up to 14th with penalties. But in the end, I don't think it's a good result. Alex Albon qualified 15th. I do think that was a good run for him in the Williams. I think these Williams may be kind of decent in the race. I like the way they looked in practice on the mediums and hards. So it'll be interesting to see how he can do coming through the field. Like I said, he'll end up starting 13th, as most of these guys will move up 2 places. I think that I think he can maybe be on for some points if there's some drama up in front of him, and maybe put pressure on the guys of like Bottas, Ocon, Ricardo, who are in front of him. As we go through, we got Vettel, who I think had a good run considering he um, qualified 3 places ahead of his teammate. Ended up being a couple tenths faster than Stroll. I think Vettel's coming into form a little bit. I think he's had a good string of runs and results. I just think he's in a bad car. So good for Seb. Bottas 13th. I think Alfa Romeo would have been wanting a little bit more. I was expecting him to maybe be a little bit punchier, maybe get into Q3. I think this is the first time he has been knocked out of Q3 in like 140 some races now that I think about it. So I think overall disappointing for him. Esteban Ocon, I think a disappointing run for him in his home Grand Prix, especially since his teammate's up in 7th. Got some work to do. End up starting 10th. He can do some damage from there. He still can salvage his home Grand Prix weekend, I think, with some good points, but definitely not ideal. Daniel Ricciardo starting 11th. I'm sure it's still a little bit frustrating for him being so far down, especially since his teammate qualified 5th. Ultimately, I don't think he was too far off the pace. I mean, 2 tenths down compared to Lando's Q2 time. He's getting closer. At least he's closer than he's been in the past. As last few weeks, he'll end up, I believe, starting in 9th with penalties. So can definitely get a good haul of points for him and kind of get some momentum. As moving to the top 10, Magnussen, of course, had a great run. I think showed really what the Haas pace had. But with Mick qualifying 19th, he'll be starting from the rear. No doubt, I think Haas may end up coming out of this week a little frustrated considering how fast their car has been. Sainz will start from the rear as 19th. Great teammate work today, and good job for Ferrari this on the Saturday. I think they did the strategy right, giving the toe. Not sure why Red Bull didn't. Since I do think Perez was pretty much a lock for 3rd, no matter what. Have him do one good lap maybe on the last run, try and give Max Verstappen a toe, but maybe they're going to say that, hey, they're equals here, right? So good for Sainz. Was a great teammate this weekend, or today, and I think it'll be fun seeing him come up through the field. Sonoda, a great qualifying session for him. Kind of been very inconsistent. I would say maybe under pressure for maybe losing his seat for next year or the next following. year, but great weekend. Handled his teammate actually, you know, ended up 8 places higher than his teammate did. So overall, great qualifying session for Yuki. Um, Alonso put another solid result for him, coming in 7th, showing that I think the pace that the Alpine really had. I was worried about um, the Alpine after Friday, but I think both of them stepped up. Ocon, of course, disappointment, but Alonso definitely um, putting up a solid result. And then you get the trio of British drivers of Russell, Norris, Hamilton. Um, I think Russell out of the three will have the most disappointing session, finishing behind his teammate and then having Norris jump in front of him. Um, but I think for Russell, you can move up the field here. Um, maybe can get a place or two at the start, and you can be on for a good result. Norris, I think, drove great. The McLaren seems to be really getting better with these new upgrades. I don't think it's, even though he qualified in front of the Alpine, I don't know if it's quite in front of Alpine for best of the rest yet, at least in Norris's hands. But I think a good run for him and a great lap. I mean, like Alonso only improved by 1/10 of a second in his Q3 run. Norris jumped up almost full 7 seconds. Russell did 5. Hamilton did about 5-6. So Alonso didn't make the jump that the other drivers had. Not sure why. Maybe if he could have at least gotten a little bit more there, that could have just been car limitations. I think he would have been up there with Norris. So we'll see how the McLaren does in the race. But good result for him. Hamilton, after missing out on free practice 1, slowly worked his way in. I was a little worried for the Mercedes. They looked a little slow there. I believe it was in Q1, kind of far down a little bit. And so, but they definitely bounced back to put it up in P4. Starting third is Perez, and I'm actually I'm a little bit proud of Sergio here because I do think he got off to a slow start, as Red Bull did as a whole this weekend, him especially. Kind of looked slow through Friday, Saturday Q1 and Q2 looking a little bit off the pace. 4/10 behind Max, I believe, in kind of both of the sessions. And in Q3, he puts in a good lap, brings it solid third, which that's where that car should be in this situation at the bare minimum. I was worried that he may have been under pressure from potentially one of the two Mercedes and maybe a Norris Alonso, who put together a stellar lap, but he did his job well, finally got it rolling, and he put it in third. Verstappen, I think, maybe ultimately, a little disappointed to miss out on pole, but I do think the Red Bull is a good race car, and where the Ferrari, I think, maybe shifted a little bit more to quality pace. And then, of course, Leclerc, with the help, of course, from Carlos. I don't think he would have needed it personally. I'm not sure how much that tow really did, but he ended up being 3/10 quicker. That tow may have been enough. It would have been tight, but I think Leclerc probably would have got it without it. Overall, the biggest takeaway I think in terms of the race tomorrow is going to be the Red Bull straight line speed versus the Ferrari slow speed. Can the Ferraris do enough in the slow speed corners and the medium speed corners to keep them from being too much under attack from the Red Bulls? Because I do think the Ferraris may be in trouble. So for the race, I'm going to go with a Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez podium. I don't think Sainz will be able to make it all the way up without help, and I don't think the Mercedes or anyone's going to be close enough to challenge for a podium on a raw pace. Leclerc's gotten how many poles this season? He's only converted to like 3 wins. A lot of that's not his fault, but I think Red Bull's straight line speed and the fact that they got 2 cars up front to kind of split strategy. Questions about Ferrari's tire day. I'm going to go Verstappen victory, Leclerc second, Perez third.